Hey, what's up, everybody at IDIOTEQ? I'm Paul.
I'm Luis.
We're from La Armada. All right, let's do this thing.
Let's do it.
So, first question. You recently wrapped up your US trek with Propaganda and Iron Sheik. How was it? It was fucking amazing. We had been waiting and wishing for a long time to go on tour, specifically with Propaganda, because we're huge fans, like many people. Our politics align. And finally, after a few years of being friends with them and playing local shows, they asked us to join them on a tour. Amazing people, amazing message, great crowds. Can't speak more highly of the experience. And we're about to join them again in a few weeks for some shows in Canada.
Okay. Second question. You leave it up.
Second question. Apart from the shows, how is the car window view on America in these politically and socially turbulent times? For a band like us, we're all immigrants. I think we just have to be aware of our surroundings. Be careful with just anywhere, at a gas station, at a show. You never know what could happen. In one of our shows, because of our message on stage, somebody came up to us kind of violently afterwards and questioning our beliefs and what we do, and started to get a little heated. And we just got to be aware. It's these people, racist people, people of this type, they've always been here.
Yeah.
They just feel a little bit more empowered now.
It's crazy because unfortunately, after 10 years that we've been around in the States, you kind of grow to not really pay attention to it like that as much as when you come here. Like when you came the first time, it was so obvious in your face. And unfortunately, we just live with it right now, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
like nothing's happening, but it's crazy. Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah, so we just gotta be careful and keep our eyes open. Number 3, it's been over 10 years since you moved to Chicago. Please take us back to the early 2000s and tell us what prompted you to change your location.
Wow, back in 2000, so that's 20 years ago. Yeah, man, we were kids playing punk rock in an island where punk is not really common. And there was only so much growth in the island we could achieve. It was a really small scene, and we pretty much play all the venues we could have played.
If you can call them venues.
If you can call them venues. And I think just a natural instinct of growth and just go somewhere and play for different people and meet different bands and play with bigger bands like we just did. And I think that drove us. That was the main thing. It was just taking our music somewhere else and showcase it to different people.
Yeah. Question number 4, was it a struggle to fit in? Was it in any way challenging diving into Chicago's punk scene as transplants?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, not just diving into the punk scene. I mean, you gotta see the fact that we just came to a different kind of world. We came to a different country. So it was hard just to get used to the dynamics in the States. And then the punk scene, everywhere in the world, the punk scene have a lot of things in common. So it wasn't too hard to get into the punk scene and play shows. I mean, they were pretty welcoming with us. And but outside the punk scene was where it was a little harder for us to get used to it. But overall, really welcoming city, huge Latino scenes historically. So I think yeah, I mean it wasn't too challenging at all.
Yeah.
I would say.
Not for the punk scene.
No.
It's more a challenge to get here.
To get here and yeah.
get a job and save money to buy gear and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Life. Number 5, how has your perspective on U.S. politics changed over the years? It hasn't really changed. We've always been a very reactionary band and people. We've always read up on these kinds of things. We come from a country that has been or was invaded twice by the United States. So we always grew up learning about these things and about the influence of empires in countries like ours.
Mm-hmm.
So we were always pretty clear on the things that go on, let's just say, behind the scenes. So it hasn't really changed. If anything, now we live on the other side of the coin, pretty much, and we see through the lies in a way. Question 6, how about your ties to the Dominican Republic? Are you still deeply connected with the domestic issues of your home country?
Well, most of our families are
Yeah.
still there. I mean, my mother's there, my father's there, like our family is there. So yeah, even we are in contact. We pretty much try to keep track of what's going on there, and pretty much it's reflected just through like our families, like an everyday thing, calling your mother and be like, hey, what's going on? How's over there? It's like it's crazy. Corruption is just it's crazier and getting more fucked up, like you know. And yeah, we have a party that's been in power for like forever, like 15 years or so.
At least.
So it's almost like a dictatorship, and yeah, it's really frustrating down there. So we do
stay very connected with it because we write about it. You know, like he said, our family tells us what's going on. We visit, we go play, and the subject matter ends up in our songs. So yeah, we're very deeply connected with the DR still. Question number 7. How is your local hardcore punk scene back in Dominican Republic? Hardcore punk is too specific. It's a very small island, so it's a very small scene of just hard rock in general. And in that, people who listen to harder stuff, they call them metálicos, like metalheads, pretty much. And in that group, everybody fits in that group. Death metal, punk, hardcore, that society just considers you a metalhead. So there's a couple of what we could consider hardcore bands, but when I say a couple, I mean like 3.
And they come and go.
Yeah.
And, it's just,
And they come and go and stuff like that. But traditionally, ever since we were kids, you know, if you want to get into hard stuff, punk, metal, whatever in the DR, it's because you really love it and you really want to be into it, because there's a lot of stereotypes and you get a lot of shit for the way you dress, for the music you listen to. So. And what about Chicago? How thriving is your local scene up there? I would say the scene in Chicago is huge. Yes. It has like 100 different scenes, and we've toured everywhere. I would say it's one of the best places to come play in the DIY, in venues. It's a very musical city. You can't just say the punk scene or hardcore scene, because it depends on the part of the city. It could be the south side punk and hardcore scene, which is where we play a lot, because that's where most of the Latinos and or the black and brown people are at. It could be the north side punk scene, north side pop punk. It's an insanely huge city. You could have 10 shows a night and they could all be full.
Yeah, it's a lot going on in the city.
So it is very thriving in every sense. Can you tell us more about your zine making process? How did you get hooked up on printing zines? So just to clarify that, when we went on tour with Propaganda, we did have a zine that was a benefit for the ACLU, organization here that fights for civil liberties and the rights of people that are oppressed here or minorities. We actually don't make them. Our good friend Leora from a band called Thulsa Doom, she made them when we went on tour last year, and we've just kept selling them on our own tours. Because it's something we strongly believe in helping that organization, that is. But it wasn't really us. We didn't make them, so we didn't.
There was an article we wrote, right?
Yeah, there's an article we wrote. Yeah, there's an article. There's a flexi disc that it comes with. We have a song there, but all credit, all credit to Leora from Thulsa Doom. Yeah. You have planted yourself at the intersection of music and activism. Do you consider these two fields related? Absolutely. I'm going to quote a great artist named Nina Simone. She says the responsibility of an artist is to reflect the times. That is the calling that drew us to this kind of music. This band wouldn't exist without that the kind of message we portray. So for us, I think the two fields are directly related. Obviously, there's different types of music, but this is us. So look back to the differences between Dominican Republic and the U.S. What would you consider core values that your home country is built upon? And what are the main cultural contrasts compared to the U.S.? Wow. That's a hard question. Core values.
We Dominican Republic is a Catholic country.
Yeah.
can start.
We can start there.
Our friends in Italy are pretty familiar with Catholicism in Europe.
Thanks for that one, guys.
It's a really conservative country.
Yeah.
And it's not like we come to a city like in Chicago where, like, you know, there's a gay neighborhood.
Yeah.
And there's like so much inclusiveness, you know,
Yeah.
that we don't have that in the island, and a lot of it has to be like with the Catholicism and how we were raised over there.
Yeah.
So
I think
that's a big difference.
Yeah. That's probably the main difference.
Kind of everything kind of branches from there.
Yeah.
I think
Everything branches from there. I agree. 13. In terms of individual beliefs and turning them into life-changing actions, who are some of your personal heroes for you? Wow, man. So let's just say in the U.S., I've always admired the example of the life of Martin Luther King. Everybody should know him. Back home, we admired people like Camaño is a huge one. Camaño was one of the people that fought against the U.S. invasion in the mid-1960s. He's come across in our songs and some of the samples we use. So it's, for the most part, is figures that made a difference through their example.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommended books or records for people interested in learning and getting involved in the issues you tackle in your lyrics? Absolutely. Some of the most recent books I can recommend are When They Call You a Terrorist. It's a great book by a woman named Patrice. I forgot her last name right now, but it's an autobiography. She's the woman who started the movement Black Lives Matter. So it's a fascinating story that it puts you in her shoes. I think there's a lot to learn from that.
Man, records. What I'm doing right now is funny. We're from Santo Domingo. When I started listening to music, I could barely understand the lyrics in English and stuff. So I'm really listening to a lot of the classics from the 80s and stuff. And it's fascinating how relevant a lot of those lyrics, like from like Dead Kennedys and Marathon and all that stuff, are still, you know, the thing that we're talking about like 20 years ago, they're still happening, and it's kind of weird. So I would go back and re-listen to a lot of punk. That's cool. That's what I would do. That's what I'm doing.
Number 15. If you had one political wish, what would it be? No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA.
Yeah.
And number 16. Wrap it up with some final words, upcoming plans. Yeah, so in 2 weeks we're gonna go meet back up with Propaganda, play some killer shows in Canada. Very excited about that. We're gonna go to the East Coast at the end of the summer, planning some Northwest US dates as well. We'll be in Europe next April 2019.
Yep.
We're gonna plan a big old tour so we can return and kick all your asses, man.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for having us.